Ready?
Ready. So I've been on social media more
Yeah.
recently, and everybody's asking like what your favorite book of the year was. And my favorite book that I've been saying is Phantasma. And I really think it is. And I really regret giving it 4 stars
Oh,
and
shoot.
not 5.
Oh, no.
So we can amend that from here.
Yeah.
Anybody who's listening, I would have given Phantasma 5 stars.
We are going to take another really good look at our rating system and really refine it till I think, progress on perfection.
Yeah. Well,
If
because before when I'd recommend books to you guys, I would give every half the books a 10 out of 10.
if Nicole would recommend that you read the book, she'd give it a 5.
Yeah. And now I gave Haunting Adeline a 4, which I regret. I
Mhm. Yeah.
There are 5s to come. I gave Brutal Obsession a 5, and that's where I feel like I really honed in on my inner
Yeah.
rating system.
I think it's
So,
interesting though, because I don't think that when we first started reading these books that you would have read Brutal Obsession or that you would have given it a 5.
no,
Phantasma, I think, was like a turning point for
it really
you
was.
in the type of smut that you like.
It really was.
Yeah.
Because even some things that I read in Brutal Obsession, I was like, "Oh, I don't like that." But then I was like, "But I do."
Yeah.
I saw one girl today on TikTok. Maybe actually, I think it was an Instagram reel, and she was like, "So these are 10 books that my husband really enjoyed.
Mhm.
He didn't read them, but he enjoyed them."
Uh,
Yeah, reaping those benefits.
wow, that
And
took me a full 15 seconds to put
same,
together.
same. But she was really, like, aggressive about the books and really, like,
Yeah.
really liking them. So did her husband,
Mhm.
and I think that's so funny because Dave has favorites, I'm sure, too.
Oh,
I was
sure.
reading The Never King.
Yeah.
He literally was running out of steam. It was every day.
Oh,
I
poor
know.
Dave.
What a rough life.
What it's so hard to be
I
him.
know.
Shoot. I really like the idea of being with a partner that you can recreate the scenes with
Mm.
in like a healthy way. Why do you say that? Why do you make that face? You don't like that idea?
No, I do like that idea.
Uh,
I can't with Dave.
oh God, no, I can't with my husband either.
No,
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 no, no, no, no.
no. Dave just can't.
Sure.
He's too sweet. He's too nice. It's more like he'll kiss my throat, not choke me.
Oh,
I know.
honey, you're so loved.
I
Oh
know.
my God, I love that for you. Wow. I told my husband one time, very, very, very early on in our relationship. Honestly, I don't even remember what it was, but it was like some thing that I wanted to try with him. And maybe like a week or so later, we were hanging out with like mutual friends. And one of the women that we were hanging out with, who is a lesbian, was like, "Oh, I heard that you wanted to try this."
No.
Yeah. And so now,
Never again. I'm not even gonna share what I like to do.
yeah, he lost all
All of
privileges.
it.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
no.
know. He's a very
Uh,
sweet man, but
I
he is
know.
very dumb.
We do have to talk about Carmen
We do have to talk about
because sweet, sweet, sweet Carmen.
oh God, such a tender little flower.
Yeah, you and
Yeah.
I have been talking about our hear me outs,
Mhm.
and I don't even know how we got talking about Woody Harrelson, but Woody Harrelson has been my apparently it's a hear me out. He's top of my list forever. I also hate bald men.
That's how we started talking
Yeah,
about it because you have a hard limit on bald.
absolutely not.
And we asked Carmen if she did, and she was actually shocked that you would have a hard limit
Yeah,
on being bald.
yeah,
Then you said, "Well, I do have an exception for Woody Harrelson." And that's when we started talking about like that's a hear me out. And
yeah.
you didn't know that.
No, I didn't think he was.
I am right there with you. So just
I
know I'm not judging you at
Yeah,
all.
and
Yeah.
then we talked about James Spader.
Hmm.
You also have your Christopher Walken.
Young Christopher Walken. If you haven't Googled him, do yourself a favor.
You gotta be real selective on the photos though, because some of them
Has very he has some very feminine, delicate features, and
he
I
does,
really like
he
that.
does.
So
We were explaining what "hear me out" is to Carmen.
oh, yes.
So
Oh, God, Carmen.
we asked Carmen what her "hear me out" would be,
Yeah.
and she thought about it. She took her time, she
Mhm.
thought about it, And the first one was the main character from Anastasia.
Which is absolutely, in case
He is
anybody is listening,
objectively attractive. John Cusack's voice
absolutely.
is objectively attractive.
Yes. 100%.
And then she's like, "Well, what about the guy from Pocahontas?"
Oh my God.
And I'm
I
pretty
forgot.
sure she's talking about Kocoum.
Sh-
Again, objectively, that is a fucking sexy cartoon.
Honestly, even John Smith.
Yeah. I
Everybody in
mean,
that cartoon is hot.
yes. And then she just can't get there.
No.
I'm pretty sure she threw out Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
Her
Yeah.
She just couldn't
She
get there.
just does not. And
She's been trying so
it's,
hard.
yeah.
Well, I loved when because she talked it up, this last one she sent us. She was like, "You guys, I'm pretty sure I have one.
Mhm.
I need to preface by saying I in no way condone violence."
Yes.
And then we all know who she sent us,
Yeah.
the CEO
Yeah.
assassin, which, Carmen, there is fanfic already about this man.
Yes.
He is everywhere. Even the press is showing photos of him on a beach shirtless.
Yes. Not hear me out. But I think like Carmen is like, well, he's a murderer, so
No.
nobody would find a murderer attractive. Carmen,
I
babes.
need her to read these books. I
Yeah.
need to read them to her.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
can do that.
Yes.
I've done it before. I'll do it again.
You have. We did have to do that to her.
We did.
Oh God. Sweet, sweet Carmen.
Love her so much.
I know.
I would like to just say one more time that Carmen and I would be incredible domestic life partners, even though that makes you jealous. So,
Does. Nobody wants to be a domestic life partner with me except for Dave.
which is why you guys are soulmates.
Yeah. I don't even think Peggle would want to.
Oh, shoot.
She'll live like in a house next to mine,
Yeah, I would live in a house next to yours as well.
but nobody wants to live
Not
in
because
my house.
I'm going to tell you though, it's not because I don't want to live with you specifically. It's that I don't want to live with anybody. I would like everybody to leave me the fuck alone all the time. Carmen she's like a little mouse. She's so
Yes.
quiet. I would never hear her.
No, all she would do is hype you up all
She
day.
would. I'd be putting mascara on and she'd be like, "Oh, wow, you put mascara on in the morning?" Like she would be thrilled, and that's what I love about her.
She would be.
All right, well, what book are we reading today?
We are reading "'Tis the Season for Revenge" by Morgan Elizabeth.
A self-declared holiday rom-com.
It is. And
Yeah.
did it deliver?
It sure did. I really loved this book. I was not expecting to like it. Rereading it the second time, I realized that maybe because of some of the things that we've read, maybe we're having a harder time identifying smutty books.
Yeah.
This is a smutty book.
Yeah.
It just is a very vanilla smutty book.
Exactly. But it's sexy.
It is very sexy. The first time that I read it, I was like, oh, this is just a book with smut.
I did too.
It's not. It's a smutty book.
Yeah.
It's written like a smutty book. Part of our rating system, I think, is that we're going to talk about kind of defining that in future episodes. But I really liked the book. I'm going to read the dedication.
Yeah.
So I do have some quotes. Sorry.
Of course you do.
The dedication of this book is to all the girls who knew Elle was always too good for Warner, and for all the girls who were told they were too much, let him go find less. I don't know if you know this about me. It shouldn't shock anybody that Legally Blonde would be one of my, I think that would be one of my Desert Island movies.
It aged so well.
Yeah. Actually, that dedication made me so excited to read this book.
It delivers. Like, this is very much Elwood's vibes.
For sure. The content warning is actually a friendly little note from the author.
Mm-hmm.
She says, "'Tis the Season for Revenge" contains mentions of cheating, verbal, physical, and financial abuse. Please always put yourself first when reading. It's meant to be our happy place. I love you all with my whole being, Morgan Elizabeth.
And we are going to do something different starting now. We are not going to be saying the spice pages during the podcast, but you can look for them. They are live on our social media, TikTok, Instagram.
We're so in sync. That was literally the next thing in my notes.
Oh, look at us.
Oh my God.
Well, you have a very specific way of doing things. So I knew that next was getting into the book, and I wanted to throw that in there first.
Oh my God.
Look at us.
Wow, we're so cute. All right, well, we open with Abby, Abby is getting ready to meet her boyfriend, Richard, for Halloween. She is going as a bunny in a true callback to Legally Blonde. And we start to see very early on here the boyfriend red flags. She is video chatting with her best friends, Camille and Kat. And I know we don't really talk about best friends, but we are going to talk about them.
We do need to in this one.
We note that her outfit has been selected thoughtfully in accordance with some feedback from Richard.
Mhm.
She's also dyed her hair brown for said boyfriend. And we learn that this guy does not come upstairs to pick her up. He basically honks and she comes down from her apartment.
And she makes so many excuses for him, and we've all been there,
Yeah.
where she's like, "Well, parking sucks. It's just easier."
Mm-hmm.
And then he texts her like, "Hey, bitch, I'm here.
Yeah.
Are you coming?"
Yeah. He texts her a couple times. You can tell he's impatient.
Yeah.
And despite all of this, Abby believes that Richard is the one.
Mhm.
And she is certain that soon he will be proposing and that she will finally get an elusive invitation to join him at his company's annual holiday party held in the Rainbow Room in New York City. And these dreams are basically dashed when she heads downstairs and he sees her costume and breaks up with her.
He, loses his shit over this costume that she even says she describes it. It's not an Elle Woods bunny.
Mm-mm. No,
This
this
is a
is
very conservative costume with basically
a
ears
skirt.
and a tail.
Yeah.
It's not ugh, chill the fuck out, dude.
Yeah. I do think I say this in the nicest way possible. First of all, it couldn't be Elle Woods, babe. Elle
Nope.
Woods would never go brown for Warren.
No.
And also, this ex, Richard, is so, so, so much worse than Warren ever was.
100%.
If you're reading this book, speaking of content warnings, he is mean.
Yes.
Aggressively mean to her in this scene. He says something along the lines of, do you think that I came all the way out here if I wasn't expecting to at least get laid at the end of the night? And you're dumb, but you're not that dumb.
Because she's surprised that he's breaking up with her. Like, "Are you kidding me?" And
Yeah.
he's like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah.
It's
Gross.
again, we've probably all been
Mhm.
there where you've been with this guy for 4 years. You have invested a lot of time. You do think that this is it just because you've lost yourself.
Mhm.
And now your whole life plan comes crumbling down, and he's just such an asshole, but
Yeah. And we'll learn a little bit more about it. But yeah, they've been together for 4 years. And she, yeah, we'll talk about it next. Do you want to give a physical description of?
of Abby, she has as of right now, she has long brown hair.
Mhm.
She is 28, she's short, she describes herself as 5'4" and very curvy.
Mhm.
Very, very pretty girl.
Yeah. We meet Damien next. Damien is at the costume party that Richard and Abby were meant to go to together. So Damien is a partner at a law firm. And at this party, he is describing his boredom with these parties and with dating and with how surface level everything feels. And I really love this scene because later on, we're going to get Abby's perspective where she talks about looking in the mirror and not being able to recognize who she is. And one of the ways that she describes herself is as being boring.
Yeah.
And I love that these two people are so bored with their lives and then they find so much color with each other. It's so great. He is new to dating apps. He's a very busy attorney. So it's sort of something that he's doing kind of on a whim. It's not something that he's taking very seriously. And he's not really enjoying them. And he, at this party, is approached by Richard because Richard is simultaneously trying to suck up to him so that he can become a partner, but also can't stand him because Richard is a fucking prick. It's not like anybody who is successful, sexy, and smart, clearly, because he also didn't like Abby. And really, these men could not be any more opposite from one another.
No, and I love how Damien, in his head, he sees Richard and he describes him as a weasel. And that's how I picture Richard too,
Yes.
because Richard has, like, kinda thinning hair. He's
Yeah.
not
You know what's so funny? Do you remember the guy that you sent me? Speaking of Carmen and our hear me out chat, the guy that you sent me and you were like, "Is he a hear me out?"
Yeah.
That's what I would picture.
No. Oh,
Yes.
no. What Wes Bentley?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't see it. I
Oh,
just do not. Abby has called in reinforcements. Her friends Cam and Kat have come to her apartment to be with her while she processes the breakup. They bring drinks and food, and they, as women do when we're angry, they set up a dating app for their friend. And they discover that Abby has actually been acting as Richard's personal assistant. So she's been managing all of his appointments. She has been ordering this special shampoo and conditioner for his thinning hair. She does all of his tailoring for his clothes. She cleans, she cooks, she does his laundry. She has basically been acting as his employee.
yeah, it's so
Like, it
gross.
really is really gross. And they really start to shine a light on how terrible he has been to her, and they concoct a plan to get revenge. Tis the
We
season.
love a good revenge.
They love a good revenge. Because Abby has access to all of his calendars and emails, they decide that they are going to aggressively approach revenge that way. But it's here while Abby is sort of mindlessly scrolling the new dating profile that her friends created that she realizes Damien, Richard's boss, has matched with her. And she decides that she's going to date him and convince him to take her to the holiday party that Richard never would as the ultimate revenge.
I love this. This is something I would have done. I love how much they stalked him too,
Hmm.
knowing that Abby is his ideal woman,
Yeah.
his perfect type. He
Yeah.
always has, like, a curvy blonde on his arm,
Hmm.
and that's Abby. So this is just such a good plan.
Yeah. Abby has a sort of full blown revelation while they're discussing their revenge plans and discussing how terrible Richard has treated her. She dyes her hair back to blonde.
Good for her.
Good for her. She throws away all of her Richard approved wardrobe and she shows up for this date ready for battle. They've done all this preparation. She's wearing a skin tight pink dress with like 4-inch heels. And she was not prepared despite all of this for Damien.
No.
Not at all.
But she also had heard from Richard that Davian was an ass, he was awful, so she
Yeah.
I think she had some preconceived notions there of what she thought he might be like, and which is why I'm sure it was so easy to, like, come up with this revenge plan
Mhm.
since she's just using him.
Yeah, she doesn't think that there's any way that she would, like, fall for this guy.
No.
But it's interesting because her friend Kat does.
Yeah.
Her friend Kat is like, "Richard told you that, so how much can you really trust that?
Mhm.
Do you really think this is a good plan?" And her and Cam at this point
Yeah.
they're all in on the plan. So, Damien is such a gentleman. He has booked them a private table at a very posh restaurant. He pulls out her chair for her when she gets there. He looks absolutely scrumptious
Yeah.
from head to
The
toe.
way he's described.
Oh my God. They end up having a great conversation. And Damien clarifies that he is not looking for anything too serious. And they decide to skip dessert and go for a walk. I have a couple of things so far. I have so many thoughts.
Yeah.
Okay. So, number one, we read a lot of these books. A lot of these men are written in a very specific way. I love that she gave these two like unique, quirky, like she calls him honey.
Yeah.
He calls her rubia, which means blonde. And he does this thing where he'll make a statement and then he'll add a "yeah" at the end.
Sure.
He'll be like, "You always wear pink with me, yeah?" Like, that kind of thing, and I just love that she added this extra layer of
It
character.
feels very realistic. The way that they interact again, just like Neon Gods, It's
Yeah.
very natural.
Yeah. I also love in this scene how aware Abby is of her power as a woman because she really, I think, forgot that when she was with Richard. And she says here that she gives him a smile that has gotten her jobs, tips, and boys. Fucking queen. I love that. How are you feeling so far?
I was in. I
Yeah.
Again, the way Damien is written, I thought he was so, so sexy. I could read a book about him any day of the week. And
Mhm.
I liked Abby as a character. She is very insecure, but she's young. She's
Sure.
been really, really beaten down in this
Mhm.
relationship. Even here where he says no dessert, she's immediately like, "Yeah, that's right. We should probably go."
Mhm.
And he's like, "No, I'm a gentleman. I'm an adult.
Mhm.
Let's go for a walk." And then yells at her for not bringing a coat.
Yeah. We see a lot, and unfortunately, I don't do a great job of capturing it in my notes. I'm glad that you're here to do it for me. We see a lot of her insecurities from Richard. I wouldn't even call them insecurities. I would almost call them like trauma responses from Richard in this initial date scene. He starts like she orders a glass of whiskey because they did their research and they
Yeah.
know that he likes whiskey. And then before she takes a sip, he asks her if she's eaten.
Mhm.
And she immediately starts to spiral about like what being fat or
Yes.
something. And he's like, well, yeah, because I want to make sure that you're not going to down this whiskey and then turn into a mess and I'm going to have to put you in a cab. Like, I want to enjoy my night with you. There's a lot of that that happens throughout the book, but it is really hard to capture it when I'm
Yeah.
doing recap. So,
Well, again, she's young. Richard's probably her first adult relationship.
mhm.
So to her, Richard is just what men are like.
Mhm.
He hasn't seen how an actual man treats a woman. So we see that throughout the whole book. Every situation she reads wrong.
Yeah, she really does. We've already kind of touched on the description, but you want to give physical description for Damien?
Yeah. So he is 42. He's tall. He has dark hair that's clean cut, but again, just a little wave.
Mhm.
And he has some scruff. So
Mhm.
dark, tall, dark, and handsome.
Yeah.
Drink of water.
He is really tall. He says at one point, like, how tall are you? And she's like, I'm 5'4". And he's like, well, I'm at least a foot taller than
Yeah.
you. So he's 6'5" ish, probably. So he's a big guy. They wander around New York. He gets them hot cocoa in front of Rockefeller Square. And I wanted to quote this entire book so bad.
I know. You
This
just wanted to read it to everybody.
I did.
If
This
anybody wants that, Amanda will call you and read you this book.
absolutely. Just let me know. I will go through it line by line. It's just so sweet. The sexual chemistry here is already great. He says, like, she's in the restaurant. They're at the coat check. And he's like, you don't have a coat? And she's like, honey, have you seen this dress? You don't cover it up with a coat. And he said, I've seen the dress and I like the dress. And it's so sexy without
Yes.
being like gross.
Mhm.
You know, it's just,
Like, you know that when he's looking at her, he's just appreciating her body, her looks, her as a woman, and she's eating it up.
yeah. I do have some opinions about it, but we'll get to it
Of
later.
course you do.
I do. I'm sorry. It's pretty obvious though that they really already like each other, but not in like a love at first sight way, which I fucking hate. It's in a we like getting to know one another and it's easy to do that kind of way. And I really, really like that because I think that this is much more realistic. They discuss the Rockettes and the Rainbow Room, and then they briefly talk about the party. And then he asks if he can kiss her.
Which I don't love. I
What?
don't love when a man asks to kiss me. Push me up against the wall and just do it. I
You are a
don't
broken person.
I don't love I have been asked, and it just is immediately
So
an ick
when
for me.
so when Damien pulls her into a little nook in New York City with snow falling and their cups of hot cocoa and has her pinned against a wall and is has his forehead on her forehead and says softly, "Can I kiss you?"
No,
That did
don't ask.
nothing for you?
Don't ask.
Oh my god.
We have to remember too, like, when Dave and I got together, I didn't ask. I just went and sat on his lap and went for it.
Sure.
If I would have gone up and been like, "Hey, buddy, can I sit on your lap?" and then have you rail me, that would have not that's not no. Take it.
Oh my god. If anybody is wondering, don't fucking take it from me. Not the first couple of times.
We love consent.
I wanna talk about it, I wanna agree to terms, I want a safe word. I don't know, my little note here says, "Be still my heart."
Of course.
I don't even like what's happening between us?
I don't know.
I don't even like romance,
I know.
and you do.
We're on the wrong team right now.
Oh my god, I
We
don't understand
switched.
what's going on. He asks her to come home with him, saying, "We don't have to do anything, but it's cold and I'm not ready for this date to end." And she does. And again, nothing, nothing for you.
I did like that.
So I just want to clarify something.
Yeah,
So natural, healthy romance, no.
correct.
But
Brutal obsession?
soulmates, absolutely, completely obsessed with one another
Yeah,
from first sight.
yes.
Yeah.
Possessive? Yes. Enemies to lovers? Yep.
That's interesting. They get back to his place, and Damien tells Abby that he doesn't share. He asks her to agree that we're not serious, but we are exclusive. She agrees, and they start making out. And this is where the throat grabbing starts.
Yep.
I love it so much. I love some throat grabbing. It's my favorite thing that he specifically says is that he does it to control her, which is the reason that I want somebody to grab my throat. He describes their kissing as frantic and needy, and he's like rubbing his hands up her body until he gets to her throat, and then he grinds himself against her, and she moans.
Yeah, this scene was hot.
The scene was so hot. This is my favorite.
Is it?
Yes,
Okay,
this
okay.
is my favorite scene for sure. She is not prepared for this.
No.
She has never been treated like this before. She moans because she's like, this is fucking incredible.
Yeah,
So
she cannot contain herself.
she literally cannot. He takes her to his bedroom where he directs her to remove her clothing. And he describes her as what dreams are made of. And as she takes her clothes off, she like sort of like covers her belly with her arm. And he's kind of like, what's she doing? She's got an itch or like,
Yeah.
and then he realizes that it's because she's insecure and it makes him angry. And he basically is like, you don't ever hide your body from me. Not ever. If we're going to do this, we're all in. And she was like, but I have a belly. And he was like, I just don't fucking care. So
Yeah.
let me see it.
Yeah.
So he tells her if he could, he would take photos of her and use them to jack off every night he couldn't be inside her. Oh my God.
Yeah,
So fucking yummy.
it
Oh
is.
my God. I love it.
If anybody needs to know how to get to Amanda, this is a play-by-play.
If you'd like a play by play of how to seduce me, tell me I'm pretty.
That's about it. And grab
Buy
my
me
throat.
hot cocoa and tell me I'm pretty. He reinforces what's his by running his hands over her body and makes her tell him she understands. And then he says, good girl.
And you love a good girl
Oh,
too.
a good girl. Oh my God. I love, how could this not be your favorite scene? I know what your favorite scene is.
Yeah,
Never.
you do. We'll get there.
He tells her that he's going to go down on her. And she's like, no, boys don't like that. And he says, boys don't, but men do. Then he
Yeah.
eats her out till she almost comes. And then he stops. And they discuss protection. They decide to forego it. And he fucks her. We talk about this every single episode. I don't like that.
I know. I didn't love that either.
Babe, live your life, but wear condoms. When she tries to rub her clit, he denies her, telling her he's going to make her come with his cock. And he takes her by her neck. And then when he releases her, she comes and he comes. I also have some feedback on the scene.
Yeah.
I don't like all of the screaming.
Sure.
I don't like the fucking shit. Oh my God. I just feel like that. I I don't know. It's just not for me. And it really took me out of the scene,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But it is still my favorite scene. I was able to get over it.
Okay, that's great.
Okay. I'm glad. It's hours later, she realizes it's late and gets up to go, saying important people like him need sleep. And Damien clarifies, like, important people like me, to which she says, yeah, like doctors and lawyers, etc. And he says, what you do is important. You make people feel beautiful. And if we're going to work, then you can't do that where,
You minimize, like, what you do and your contribution.
yeah.
'Cause she's a makeup artist at, like, a department store.
And she's passionate about it.
Very, yeah.
She loves it. And Richard hated it. Richard thought that it was a not serious job and that what she was doing was not important and really just kind of diminished her for doing that. So she stays the night. They spoon. They wake up together. He gets her coffee and breakfast on the way to drop her off, where he walks her up to her apartment door and has now started calling her his new nickname for her, which is Naranja, which means orange.
Yeah.
The next day, the girls are working on their plans for Richard. They've already put glitter in his car vents, and now they are picking up some old keys and attaching his phone number to them, and then leaving them all over New York so that people will find them and blow up his phone, trying to return them. And Cam has also put his number in a Reddit post claiming it was Harry Styles' leaked number. And this is a complete side note.
Yeah.
This works. So I think it's like the keys are to his cell phone and then the leak number is his office phone or something.
Yeah.
And his phone starts blowing up. And I just have to say, and I mean this with my whole fucking chest, if you get a celebrity's leaked number and you call them, you're a fucking weirdo. That is the weirdest shit. I can't imagine being in a subreddit and have somebody be like, this is Emma Darcy's number, and being like, oh, I'm going to call them.
Yeah.
They're a stranger.
Yeah.
Don't know them.
No.
You can't just
What are they gonna do? Yeah.
I just think it's the weirdest shit ever. Would you do that?
No, I wouldn't, but I feel like that is a thing,
It is a thing.
and it's insane.
It is insane. I agree. If
But
my
we
phone
don't
number,
judge.
we don't we don't judge, but we're judging. I'm
Yeah.
judging. Anyways. The following Thursday, they have another date, and Damien calls her the night before to cancel. And just when she's thinking to herself, like, he's just like all the rest of them, he explains to her that he has a pro bono domestic violence case that is in need of a time sensitive order by the judge. And he asks her if she would be willing to do his client's makeup to help her feel her best for the trial. And she agrees. So the next day, he shows up with his client. He meets Kat, who works with Abby at the department store. Abby sends him away.
Yeah. She wants
She's
to, like, be alone.
She's like, let us do our girl thing. And so he goes to wander around the mall, and Abby does this client's makeup. And she really kind of starts to connect with this client who has been married and has children and is experiencing some really horrific kind of abuse,
Yeah.
financial, physical, mental abuse.
They're trying to get a restraining order, an order of protection.
Abby sort of starts to see herself in this client and sees the path that she was on with Richard. And I think it's a really good opportunity for her early on in this relationship with Damien for her to be able to really clearly identify what love and patience is supposed to look like. She does the woman's makeup. She sets her up with a goodie bag and some clothes for her and the kids. And then, she calls Damien back and he brings Kat and her some coffee and he kisses her in front of her friends and it's all very cutesy. And as much as I loved this book, I hated this scene.
Why do you hate the scene?
I just feel like it feels forced.
I will agree. I wouldn't like a guy that I've only been out with once coming into my work and
Sure.
kind of showering me with affection.
Sure.
And for me, it would feel like it's fake. It's like putting on an act in front of his
Yeah.
client to
Yeah.
seem a certain way.
Oh,
That's how I would take it if I was Abby.
sure. That's so interesting. Do we think that Abby is an unreliable narrator? Is this
She
giving Feyre?
could be. It could
Wow.
be.
That's interesting.
That's how I kind of took it.
Yeah. I just feel like it's just a little bit too syrupy for
Yeah.
me. It's
This is a
just
Hallmark movie. It's a way to, like, force some intimacy with
yeah.
them
Yeah, exactly.
outside of just the sex,
Yeah.
because we get a little sex next.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do. The next day, Damien calls her to update her on the case. And while they are chatting, they slowly ease into a phone sex conversation. She makes a joke about his age, and
Mhm.
he says something about putting her over his knee.
Oh, yeah.
And then he's like, "Oh shit, you would like that, wouldn't
Yeah.
you?" And then they sort of like start talking, and then he asks her what she's wearing. And then he tells her to take it off. And then she asks him if he's also taking his clothes off. And he says, "Just to be clear, I'm going to talk you through making yourself come, and I'm going to jack off while I listen."
Yeah.
Like,
This is my favorite scene. We don't get a lot of phone sex scenes, and I've always loved phone sex. Dave
mm,
and I were long distance for a year or over, and I've always liked.
oh, interesting. Love
Yeah.
that. I've never had phone sex.
Really?
Yeah. So I don't know. I just don't know if I would even really like it, to be honest.
Interesting.
We've talked about this in the past. I am a big noise person. I don't do great with visuals. So something in me feels like maybe it would be challenging for me.
Yeah.
I mean, he like walks her through step by step, which I love and can get on board with. But he also is describing himself. And that would be really hard for me.
Yeah. How
I wouldn't be able to visualize it
about
because I don't
FaceTime?
visualize any. I think I could get on I think I could get on board with FaceTiming.
Yeah. Put the
Like,
phone between your legs while you're on FaceTime?
yes. Like Jake and Rachel from Pucking Around.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
I could get on board with something like that, I think. FaceTime I could do. Straight phone sex, I don't think I could.
Sure. What about? Because 'cause I've also done the texting. There's one guy that we were
Oh.
texting after bar close
Mhm.
and, like, so good that he was like, "Okay, I'm outside."
Oh my god,
And
I
then we fucked in his car.
love that for
I
you.
know.
Oh my god. Yes, sexting I'm okay with.
Yeah.
Only because if I'm sexting, I'm doing it, like, while I'm, like, at work. It's not like, I'm gonna go run this, like, tray of ranch, and then I'm
Yeah.
gonna text him in between. I'm not actually participating in a sexting.
Usually, no, but the worst is then when you're sexting and then
Sure.
they call you to, like, hear you finish, and it's like, "Fuck, I have not even I'm on Google Earth
Right.
right now. I have not." So
Yes. Mhm.
that is the one downfall to sexting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god, you and
I'm not
Dave
letting distance stop me.
No, I clearly
No.
I honestly would.
You are like that, though. The second
Yeah.
somebody's just out of your peripheral, you're like,
I don't even
new
remember.
best friend.
Yes, I do. Oh my god, way to just fucking call me out in front of everybody. Oh my
Well, we
god.
call everybody else out, so
That's true. I have no shame about it. Look it, if you wanna be my friend, stay in front of me.
yeah.
That's I don't know. It's what are you gonna do about it? So, as Nicole has kind of already alluded to, he has her put him on speakerphone and then put the phone between her legs so that he can hear her touching herself through the phone.
So
And
hot.
it's so hot.
You've talked about the noises,
Yeah, I'm a big noise person. Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
yeah, this is hot.
Yeah. He walks her through touching herself and then fingering herself until she comes, and then he comes. And the entire time that they're having this conversation, he is like talking dirty to her and praising her. And then they finish up, and then there's aftercare.
There is. Even distance,
And long distance.
there is still some aftercare for him. Yeah.
He says, "Go to the bathroom and clean yourself up and then come back." And she's like, "What do you mean? Like, aren't we done?" And
Yeah, he's like, "I didn't just call you to do this. Like,
yeah,
believe it or not, I actually wanna talk to you."
yeah,
It's so sweet.
it is so sweet. I love him.
Is this now your favorite scene?
No, no,
Still no.
still no.
Shoot.
I love that it's your favorite scene though.
It is.
And I can understand the novelty of it.
Yeah. I can get on board with a phone sex scene.
Yeah. Oh my god, I love
I
that for
know.
you.
You're learning so much about my sex
You're
life,
so interesting. Nobody can see me, but I'm literally like
just beaming at me.
um, I'm so thrilled to be learning these things.
Yeah.
They talk on the phone for about an hour, and then she is kind of starting to fall asleep, and he's like, "Are you tired?" And she's like, "No, I don't want this to stop. I'm lonely and I like talking to you." And so he says, "Okay, well, I'll stay on the phone and tell you about my day while you fall asleep." And they do that. And it's, again, super sweet. There's a thing, again, with the unique way that they talk to each other where he'll say something to her, like, "I didn't just call you to have phone sex with you." And she'll say, "Oh." And he'll say, "Yeah, oh." And it's so cute. I
It is.
just love
It's
that.
just so realistic that it makes it really easy to fall into this book
Mhm.
and picture yourself in these people because that's how most people would probably speak.
Yeah, for sure. About a week later, while they're on their next date, he notices that Abby is distracted. Her phone is going off, and he's like, "What's going on?" And Cam and Kat are at their favorite childhood band's concert at Madison Square Garden that night. And she had not bought tickets because she was still with Richard when they bought the tickets. And the last time that they had been to a show, Richard had just absolutely eviscerated her about it. And so she instead chose to spend the money on a new pair of Jimmy Choos, which,
Good choice.
good choice.
Right decision made.
It worked out in your favor,
Yeah,
babe.
because you've already seen I get the vibe based on giving out Harry Styles' phone number that this is One Direction,
Oh, sure.
and she's already seen him.
Yeah.
Jimmy Choos.
Yeah. You would say that.
I know I would.
I would pick the concert one.
After telling you earlier today that I would choose a trip over a $45,000 ring.
Doesn't make any
I'm
sense.
an enigma.
Yeah, you really are. Oh my god. I'm gonna know you my whole life, and I'm never gonna have
No,
it out.
I don't have myself figured out.
Oh, well, that's makes it
That
hard on
tracks.
me. When Damien learns what's going on, he takes her to Madison Square Garden. He has her friends meet him out front, and he sets them up in the firm's box seats with complimentary champagne, and he hangs out with her and her friends all
Yeah,
night long while they sing along to every single song and act like little girls at their
yeah,
favorite band
and he's just
concert,
loving it.
and he
He's
loves it.
just he likes seeing her in her element.
Yeah, he says on the way home, like, "I love seeing you happy and free," and he says something to her here along the lines of, like, "When you're with me, you wear pink, yeah?" And
Yeah,
she's like, "Okay, yeah, I guess when I'm with you, I wear pink." So, I just love them. On the way home that night, he sort of starts fishing for information about this horrible relationship because Cam and Kat brought it up.
yeah. They
When
almost even say his name.
Yeah, yeah, Cam, as committed as she is, almost blew their cover. She discloses that she was in this really horrible relationship for a really long time, and the way that she lost herself and just kind of some of the details of it, and he comforts her, and they go back to his place, and we don't see the sex scene, but
Yeah, it's a fade to black.
inferred that they have sex. And while they're laying in bed together, he starts talking about this twat that he works with that he cannot stand. And he's talking about Richard.
Yep.
So Abby is like, "I'm laying naked in bed with my ex's boss, listening to him complain about my ex, and he doesn't know that he's my ex." And
Yeah,
I, the fact that she didn't tell him here,
yeah.
I would have, I would have told him for sure. I wouldn't have been able to keep that in any longer.
I wouldn't have either. There are a lot of times where she could have told him the truth in this, and she
Yeah.
doesn't.
Mhm. And we also learn when she's having her little internal monologue that the women are still working their revenge angle, and Abby had Richard's tailor take in all of his suits a half an inch so that he wouldn't know that they had been taken in a half an inch and that he would just think that
Yeah,
he was gaining weight.
and
And
they canceled his special shampoo,
Mhm.
so his hair will fall out.
Yeah,
I do like the
I
revenge.
do too. I think it's a lot
I
of
think
fun.
we've all wanted to get revenge on a guy like this,
Mhm.
and we're just watching Abby live out our best fantasies.
Well, and it's so genius because they can't really get in trouble for any of these things.
No.
I mean, like, none of these things are really gonna come back to bite them in the ass.
No, nothing illegal, nothing harmful.
Yeah, I love it. In their discussions, Abby invites Damien to come home with her for Thanksgiving, and he agrees on the condition that she comes to dinner with his family when they come up the week after Christmas. This is where we start to see Abby kind of attempting to come clean with Damien. From here on out is where she really is kind of like, I have to tell him.
But she makes very ill-timed attempts.
Yeah.
She's picking these moments of, like, pure bliss where he's like, "Until after the holidays, I don't wanna know anything that could make me change my mind about you." And there are so many other opportunities she could have taken to tell him.
Yeah. Damien and Abby are going to drive to Abby's sister's place for the holidays. This scene again, Abby is like, "Well, I'll take the train." And Damien is like, "Oh, well, I'll drive." And she's like, "Oh, okay, like I'll meet you out there." And he's like, "The fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
I I'm driving. Like we're gonna drive." And she's like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah,
Like,
I thought important people like you have to work. Like, sure, I always have work, but I'm not working on a holiday with you.
right. Yeah, absolutely. And again, she just is just I think is so traumatized that she 4 years of being with somebody who would drive himself while she took the train
Yeah.
out to her
Or
family.
he'd take the train just so he could work,
Yeah.
and she'd sit there twiddling her thumbs.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. When they get to her family's house for the holidays, they end up in their own little guest house versus staying in the big house. And the first night that we get here, we get another scene.
Yeah, we do.
Oh my.
I know.
Wow. From across the table, I could see you smiling and looking at me out the corner of your
Yep,
eye. Damien has Abby. You love this shit.
I do.
You do. I'm starting to see, there are some things I'm starting to see. You are an enigma, but
Yeah.
some of it's coming together here, babes. Damien has Abby show him how she touches herself when he's not around. And she's kind of showing him, and then he has her put 2 fingers inside herself while he strokes himself, which I love.
Yeah.
So the scene is it's versatile.
Yeah, for both of us.
Girl. Then he has her stop, but leave her fingers inside of herself. And then he comes to her, he pulls her fingers out, sucks one clean, and then makes Abby suck the other one clean. And then he methodically fucks her while telling her who she belongs to.
Yeah,
This is also a hot scene.
it really is.
I liked the scene. This was a smutty scene.
Yes, I agree. This is where we definitely get the smut book versus a book with spice.
Yeah, for sure. Afterwards, they are laying in bed and they're kind of discussing really indirectly their future. And Damien is at this point all in.
He
Abby.
thinks to himself that he's already met the perfect woman. I think he
He
might have even said that.
yeah, he is thinking to himself, why would I continue to approach this from a not serious way when this is serious? Like there is nobody else that I'm going to see myself with. And she's saying to herself, I can see a future with this man.
Yeah,
So they start discussing kids, and Abby reveals that she doesn't want them.
good for her.
Yeah. She just wants someone to be completely obsessed with. And we learn that he wants the same thing. And I really, really love the scene because it's a very honest,
Yes.
very open, very healthy conversation. And I love that Abby doesn't want to have kids because like it's not my place to like pass opinion on people who
Right.
don't want kids and what their reasoning is, but I think a lot of the times when we hear people who are like, "Oh, I don't want kids," like there's so much work or like whatever
Yeah.
it is, and she is saying that here, but she's also saying like I know myself and I know that I'm going to lose myself in my partner, and I don't want to lose myself in my partner when I have children that are going to need me. And it just is like, I don't know. I love the
I
conversation.
do too.
The next day of Thanksgiving, it's of course a massive success. Damien gives a toast and
Everybody loves him.
everybody loves him. Hannah and Abby's sister can really tell that she's in it. That, I mean, they're really falling for one
Yeah.
another.
And her sister doesn't know that
Right.
this is revenge.
Yeah. A week later, and Damien has asked Abby to meet him after work at his place. And old habits die hard. She gets there, she doesn't know what to do. He has been working a really tough case, so his house is not dirty, but it's like a little
Yeah,
messy,
messy.
little unkept. And so she cleans up, vacuums, does his laundry, and then cooks him dinner. We learn in like an earlier scene that this was something that she was doing for Richard all the time. Like this was the expectation of her in their relationship. She quantified it as this is what women of powerful men do is they take care of all of these responsibilities and I have to show him that I am capable of doing these things for him. And it's interesting because here she doesn't feel like that, but it is almost like habit. That's what it feels like when I
Yes,
was
I agree.
reading. It was almost like I don't know what to do with myself. I'm here in his apartment and this is what I do. And but he comes home and on his way home stopped at a bodega and picked her up some carnations because he was thinking of her. And
Yeah, I love that because he's having a shitty day and he stops to get her flowers because her being happy makes his day better.
exactly.
I love,
I
love,
know.
love that.
I do too. And I love that they were shitty bodega flowers. I
Yeah.
love that she talks about it. I love that she points it out. I love that she recognizes that like small little gestures like this mean just so much. Like he was on his way home, he was thinking about her, he stopped, he got the flowers, and he is so fucking grateful for
Yeah.
everything that she's done for him. He was not expecting it. He makes it very clear that he never expects that of her. And to thank her, he spreads her out on his island and he eats her out until she comes.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yep.
And I love the scene because she is like, oh my God, I'm wearing leggings and a sweatshirt. Like, I should have put lingerie on or something. Like, Damien is going to expect me to be. And he's like, you fucking cooked for me. You're
Yeah.
a fucking goddess.
Hmm.
I love it so much. After he's made her come, he turns her around, bends her over, and then he fucks her from behind.
On the island. Yep.
Yeah. After dinner, while laying in bed, he invites her to the Christmas party. And at this point, I've almost forgotten that the whole point of this was to get invited to that Christmas party
Right.
because I'm so invested in them.
This feels like a forever.
Yeah. She's going to cancel. She's going to tell him everything. And she's fighting about it with Cam, who is like, absolutely fucking not. Don't lose focus. And she gets a text message from Richard. And the text message is basically Richard saying, if you have any photos of us on social media together, get rid of them all. And then he sends some asshole thing like,
Yeah. Text me when you've done
text me
completed
when
it.
you've completed this task.
I would have had the same reaction that Abby does, where it's like, all right, this is back
Yes,
on.
100%. Yeah, it's real easy to get there. The next date that they go on, I don't have a lot written about it, but I think that it's an important date to include because it is very sweet.
Yes.
When they had been on their first date, they had talked about the Rockettes and how when she was young, she wanted to be a Rockette. And he asked her, have you ever been? And she said, no. Me and my sister were obsessed with them. And so Damien has set up a surprise visit with her sister Hannah and Hannah's husband. He's brought them out to New York City. He buys them tickets to go see the Rockettes together, and they all go on this cute double date. And I am a smitten kitten. So,
Well, and it's so telling on how we see how Damien really felt about her right away. Because
mhm.
she mentioned that on their first date and he remembered that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. The night before the party arrives, and Damien has won his pro bono case, and he calls Abby and asks if he can come over to celebrate. And she says, like, don't you have people to celebrate with? And he says, yeah, I do, you. And then he brings pizza and wine over to her place and they celebrate. And it's
Yeah. Which is,
again,
again, the best part of his day is Abby. And it's so,
oh my God,
so
it's
sweet.
so fucking sweet. This is now that we're going through this, I feel like this is you and Dave.
I'm like, I can relate to all of this.
Yes. Oh my God.
Dave on his birthday would probably get me flowers.
Yeah.
If I tell him not to do something, he'll still do it. He'll remember everything I've ever told him.
Yeah.
He's been getting up with me in the mornings just to open our garage door, even though he's off this week.
Oh my God, you
I
guys are
know.
adorable.
No, no wonder I liked this book. I should have rated it higher.
The day of the party, while chatting with Kat, we learn that Damien's nickname for Abby, Naraha, is actually a well-known phrase that essentially means my other half. And he has been calling her that since their first night together. So this is a big revelation for her because she realizes that Damien is way more in this than like she thought. I also think it's really interesting and probably good writing that every single time that we have gotten Damien's perspective, never once have I gotten other half vibes from him,
Right.
which is such a man thing.
Yep.
That is, men are big fucking dumb idiots
Yes.
walking around bumping into things and they don't even know.
No.
They have so disconnected from their feelings.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
He's so into her.
He just doesn't even understand
No.
his it's wild to me. It could never be me. So after she learns this, she is more determined than ever to tell him the truth. And that night he comes to pick her up and she's feeling sick. Like she's like, I'm going to tell him before we go. And he comes into her apartment because he comes upstairs. He's made friends with the doorman because of course he has. Comes into her apartment to pick her up and he sees that she's wearing a serious dress and he forces her to change into her signature pink color. And while she's changing, Damien decides that they're going to have a little quickie.
He can't even stop himself.
Not even stop himself. He doesn't even completely undress himself. He literally is still in his
Yeah.
suit.
He just unzips.
Yeah. He degrades her and praises her in equal measure, and they both come and then head to the party. And I like this part because she notices here that he always looks her in the eye when she's all dolled up. And she says she thinks it's because he wants to let her know that he likes her
Yeah.
and not the dress, which
Yeah.
was really sweet.
Well, I think it's sweet too. Like he knows Abby's personality is pink.
Mm-hmm.
So he sees her wearing something that's not her,
Mm-hmm.
presumably to impress him. He's like, I want Abby. And then he picks out the dress that she really wanted to wear for the party, but she didn't think she could. And he makes her put that dress on. And then
Yeah.
he just can't even keep his hands off of her and has to real quick
Yeah.
get it in.
Mm-hmm.
It is. It just
He is. I may have some of my personal feelings maybe bleeding over into this book, but I think like there is a little edge of toxicity to him,
sure.
and it's almost like he kind of relishes the fact that she is damaged
Sure.
and that he's not the one who did the damaging.
Interesting. I did not get that vibe at all.
Yeah. The second time I read it, the first time I read it, I really didn't because I think
Yeah.
I was like so lost in it. But kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier about like an unreliable narrator,
Yeah.
he does get a lot of like joy out of being the one to be like,
He's a white knight. He's that like protector.
yeah,
Everybody before him was shit.
mhm, yeah.
He feels like he's her perfect man.
But it serves his ego a
It does.
lot to feel that way. And
But we see that with his pro bono case too. He's always protecting women.
for sure.
Yeah.
That's not to say that I am mad at him.
No.
I'm not, but I do think like if I was choosing between Damien and Hades, I'd pick
You're
Hades.
still picking Hades.
Yeah, for sure. They get to the party and it goes exactly as expected. Damien is showing her off. Everybody really loves her. They're so excited that he brought somebody. And he brings her on stage for the company's speech. His partner is giving a speech and like calls him up and she goes up with him and they're having fun. And Richard finds out that he did not get partner and he looks like shit.
Yeah.
He's
His hair is thinning.
bald.
She thinks he's even gained some weight, even
Yeah.
though she also has clothes taken in.
Yeah.
He looks like she calls him greasy.
Yep.
Just
Yeah.
a weasel.
Weasel. Yeah. Well, Richard loses his mind,
He's drunk and
drunk.
pissed.
Mhm. He confronts Abby and basically he calls her a whore in
Mhm.
front of Damien. Abby loses her cool and like lays in to him, which was, I think, so selfish.
I know, that's the only thing where I'm like, I would not have done that.
No, I wouldn't have
But
either.
again, we weren't beat down for 4 years by this guy.
No, I know. Yeah,
But it's in the middle of
this is still fresh. I mean, this is only
yeah, it's 2
it's only
months.
been 2 months. So it's I understand, but it's just the way that Damien has to find this out is
I know.
so awful. I would not wish it on anybody because
No.
he's a smart guy. He puts it together real fucking quick.
And this is in front of his firm.
Yeah. Oh,
He's the
yes, they're
accounting
making this
partner,
scene.
like
Yes.
yeah,
Full scene.
yeah.
He punches Richard and then leaves the party. And then Abby is like, "Oh my God, I have to go after Damien." And Richard grabs her by her arm and then
Really hard.
really hard is like squeezing her. And again, like,
Just berating her.
yeah. And his grandfather steps in to save her. And then Abby turns around and punches him, which
Well, he says something about Damien, and that's when Abby, like, punches
loses
him.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, Don't fucking talk about Damien."
Yeah. She catches Damien on the street and she apologizes to him. She confesses everything. And Damien forgives her, but I think it's important to note that he wasn't planning on not forgiving her.
No.
He didn't even have his coat. He was just going outside to like cool off and then he was going to come back. And so she's thinking like, "Oh, this is over. He's leaving. He's going to go home." And she gets outside and realizes that he doesn't have a coat. And he's like, "Babe, I just needed to walk it off."
Ye
And he is very understanding of the fact that we went into this as casual. It wasn't meant to be anything more. Neither of us expected it for it to go the way that it did. I think he's just like a very reasonable person and he's very understanding
he's an
and
adult, so that's
yeah.
a very adult thing, like, we're having a disagreement.
Mhm.
Dave is very much like that, where I'll fuck up or I'll say something, and he's very cool, calm, and collected, and I'm
Mm.
like, "Armageddon, this is it. Like, there's no going back. I screwed up so
Mhm.
badly." And he's
Yeah.
just like, "This is a disagreement." And that's he was like you said, he was never planning on not forgiving her.
Yeah. Well, and I think I got the impression that when she was bringing it up, Damien didn't think that she was trying to tell him something bad. I think that he thought she was trying to tell him something like, "I'm falling for you. I wanted this to be more." And Damien was like, "I'm not ready for that." And so I think
Oh, that's not the vibe I got.
yeah, I think that there was a little bit of for me, I think that he felt a little bit of personal responsibility for that because
Sure,
it's like had I just listened to her and let her talk, I would have known this information ahead of time, but I was worried about what she was gonna say.
sure.
So but yeah. So they spend Christmas together with family as planned, and then they lock themselves in Abby's apartment and spend 3 days together, enjoying each other and eating takeout, and he gets her a trip to Bora Bora, and she rewards him by giving him head.
That's something I would do.
Yeah. I love this part because they're, like, sitting in a pile of wrapping paper, which is the least adult thing that you could possibly be doing.
Yeah.
They're just surrounded in scraps of paper, and she, like, crawls through them to get to him. Such an image. He has her get on top and ride him until they both come, and then they each tell one another that they love each other.
Yeah, they made love.
I really, like, love it because we didn't talk about it earlier, but one of the earlier scenes when he bends her over the kitchen counter, he spits on her ass, sticks his thumb in her ass,
Mhm.
and he's like, "Has anybody ever taken you here before?" And she's like, "No." And she's never been on top before. So,
Right.
I mean, all of these things are brand new to her, and Damien is like, "We're like, babes, you're fine. Like, you couldn't do anything wrong if you wanted to, you know?" And it's I don't know. I think it's just so sweet and so cute, and I don't think it's quite as love-making as some of the other shit that we've seen. So this was a holiday rom-com, but it was
Yes.
still smutty enough to
Yeah.
be interested. The prologue has us 3 years later, and they have discussed with one another what their plans are. So they're gonna travel, and then in 4 years, they'll consider talking about marriage. And so for Christmas, it's exactly 3 years later, it's the same day as the Christmas party. Damien gets her a little bauble, little diamond or something on a
Yeah.
necklace,
A Tiffany
a
necklace.
Tiffany necklace. and he takes her to the party, and she realizes at the party while she's up on stage that even though Damien has never given the speech, that his partner has always given the speech, he's the one in fact giving the speech. She notices that her friends Cam and Kat are there, that her sister is there, and Damien gets down on one knee in front of everybody and proposes to her, and she says yes. And it's
And Richard is no longer working there. Richard
Richard.
was let go after he harassed
Hmm.
Abby at
Yeah.
that Christmas party.
They changed the whole direction of the firm. They're being more selective with the clientele that they take on, like all of the good things. It was a beautiful ending. I
It
really enjoyed.
was. You cried.
I did not cry, but I did like it a lot. I am never going to tell you the next time I cry if you're going to hold it against me. Oh my God. All right. Well, that ends our Tis the Season for Revenge. We want to thank Pagel,
Yep.
always,
Yeah.
our third musketeer.
Literally.
We wouldn't be able to do this
We
without her.
literally, yeah.
Yeah, we're
We
so.
would not be on social media. We can't do anything.
I also just genuinely enjoy the text message stream. It's honestly, it's chaos.
It is.
I'll be replying to a message and there'll be two other conversations happening underneath the message that I'm replying
Yes.
to. And it is so great.
She's just wonderful.
I really love it a lot. Morgan Elizabeth is born and raised in New Jersey. She lives there with her two boys, toddler daughter, and mechanic husband. She's addicted to iced espresso, barbecue chips, and Starburst jelly beans. And she usually has headphones on, listening to some spicy audiobook or Taylor Swift. There is rarely an in between. Other books by Morgan include.
So Shannon actually gets her own book, and it's called Shannon is the pro bono case. It's
Mm,
called Big Nick Energy.
what?
Yep.
Oh my God, I
I
love
started it. I haven't finished it, but it gives the same cutesy vibes. I think it's Shannon met this younger guy on a dating app or something,
Mm.
and they click, but
Mhm.
more platonic.
Sure.
And then they hang out, become friends, and then he invites her to Christmas because his dad is also single.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. Okay, Shannon.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, so there are actually 5 books in this series.
Okay.
So the Seasons of Revenge series, Passenger Princess series, Atlas Oaks single book, the Springbrook Hills series, which is, I think, the spin-off of this book. So Springbrook Hills is where Abby's family is at.
Oh, sure.
These are all of the people in her hometown. That's that
Gotcha.
series. There's 5 books in that series as well. The Mastermind Duet and the Ocean View series. So she has a pretty good amount of books
And
as
they're
well.
cute, easy reads.
Yeah.
Rating?
Should we talk about ratings? Yeah.
Okay. Spice level.
I am going to go with we're just for spice level going to use graphic.
Yes.
I'm just going to use how graphic it
What
was.
advanced?
I'm not going to use
Okay.
advanced.
Just graphic.
I'm just going to say graphic. This book, I would give it on the graphic scale, I would give it a 3.
Okay. I gave it a 2.
Mm-hmm.
It was graphic,
Mm-hmm.
but I was also going off of advanced, and I think this was all pretty vanilla.
Yeah, I
This is
agree.
stuff I've really all done,
Yeah.
and I'm a vanilla gal. All right, spice frequency.
Spice frequency, I would give this a 3.
Okay, I gave it a 4. There are like 6, 7 scenes in 300 pages.
Yeah.
All right, prose.
I'm going to give it a 3.
Okay, I gave it a 4.
Mhm.
It was well written.
Hmm.
Everybody's pretty well thought out.
Yeah.
You're just on the board with 3s.
I
Are we going
know.
to get you any higher than a 3 for storyline?
Yes. For storyline, I'm going to give it a 4.
Okay,
Mhm.
perfect. I also gave it a 4.
Yeah. I thought it was a really cute story.
And then overall.
Overall, I'm going to give it a 4.
Okay, I gave it a 3.5.
I was going to give it a 3.5.
I know.
I'm going to change my
Okay.
2.5.
It's a really cute story.
Mhm.
Overall, I really liked it.
Mhm.
Um,
I would say if it's on your TBR, read it.
Yeah.
I would say there are other books that I would recommend before I would read this book.
yes. But however, this would be a book that I would recommend to my sisters.
Yes.
It's
Yep.
a book that I'm not gonna there's no gun fucking or knife fucking or
Yeah.
breath play.
Yeah.
'Cause
Agreed.
this book is on Kindle Unlimited. That's where I read it, so any page numbers or anything you see with that, it's Kindle Unlimited, but it's pretty easily accessible. You can get it on Amazon, Target, Barnes& and Noble, and you can get an audiobook.
Oh,
And
cute.
I know a lot of people now who really like audiobooks, so I'm gonna start making sure I look to see if it's on
Okay.
Audible or
Yeah. We just talked about this at Thanksgiving. I obviously, the voice thing, it has to be very specific for me to listen to an audiobook, but I also like audiobooks I didn't realize were so long.
oh my god.
I could read a book. I mean, I did the full notes on this in collective maybe 2 hours,
Yeah,
and I was
literally.
doing recap notes, which is I probably read the book in an hour and a half. Like,
Yeah,
it's versus an audiobook, this audiobook is probably 6 hours long,
I'm sure.
you know?
I remember A Court of Silver Flames was, like, 16 hours, and I usually listen to my audiobooks, if I am listening, they're at least 1.8 or 2
Oh,
times
sure.
speed, which you do lose
Yeah. Some of
some.
the dramatic effect.
Yes.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So,
Well, you can find us on social media. We would so appreciate please go to our social media. I'm not above begging. Go
no.
to our social
It's
media,
adorable.
follow us on Instagram, follow us on TikTok. We are at Booksluts Pod. We're online at bookslutspodcast.com. You can also find us on YouTube. And we are working on getting our Reels and Facebook up running as well. So we want to stay connected with you all if you're listening.
Yeah, give us recommendations, let us know if you have feedback.
Mhm,
We
we have listeners right now in Germany and Iran, and we want to know more from you.
yeah.
I'm so curious.
Yeah,
We're
this
just
is a
like
community.
chit-chatting.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So follow us there, and we will see you next time. I'm Amanda,
I'm Nicole.
and we are Book Sluts. Bye.
Bye.